Hey guys, we are here today doing TOC number 6, so please make sure that you label your paper with TOC 6. That's very important. If you're writing this on your own paper, you also need to copy down the topic, objective, and your essential question today is going to be, how do I, and then you copy from here on. So how do I evaluate numeric expressions using order of operations? Now that didn't spell order of operations, did it? Nope, you're used to hearing PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you've been hearing that since elementary school. Now that you're in 7th grade, we're changing that to GEMDAS. So you might want to write that in the topic up here. And you're going to notice that I'm going to be grouping the MD together and the AS together. So the first question that we're going to ask ourselves on the left is, what are the steps used for order of operations? So the first step is always parentheses. In 7th grade, we're going to upgrade that parentheses into what we call grouping symbols. So we have different grouping symbols in 7th grade. We have what's called brackets. We have these guys, which is called braces. We have these guys, which is called absolute value. And we also have this long fraction bar, which we call a complex fraction. And we're going to show you some of these as we go through the unit. Okay, so E stands for exponents. Exponents is something like 5 squared, right? Another thing in the exponents category is going to be square root. Okay, such as the square root of 25. So when you see square roots in your PEMDAS question or your GEMDAS question, it's going to be done at the same time exponents would be done. The MD is grouped together. This is really important, right? We have our multiply and divide. But the reason I said it's really important is because you must solve the multiply and divide from left to right. So if divide shows up before multiply, you have to do the division first. Add and subtract is also a left to right category. Okay, so these guys you must also solve from left to right. All right, so this section right here is not asking us to solve yet. It is just asking us to decide what to do first. In order to decide what to do first, it's really important that I put my checklist next to my problem. Please get used to writing your checklist every time you have to solve a problem. That way you can cross them out as you go. So I'm going to grab a highlighter. Excuse me. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to grab my highlighter and I'm going to look through G for grouping symbols. I do see some grouping symbols right here, but the trouble is I have a lot of things going on inside that grouping symbol. So I have multiply, I have add, and I have exponents. So because I have to look for multiply, add, and exponents, I'm going to check for those letters over here. I see exponents. So that's what I have to do first. So in this situation, I'm going to do my exponent first. 6 squared is 36. All right, let's look below that. I'm going to use my checklist again, and I see that I have 2 grouping symbols now. So with 2 grouping symbols, technically it does not matter which one you do first, but best practice to stay consistent with your left to right is to start on the left. Now again, I'm running into some trouble where I see add, subtract, and exponents. Here's add, here's subtract. Exponents is definitely first here. So 4 squared in this situation, 4 times 4, that's 16. Okay, now if we were solving these, we'd be bringing down all the other steps. But right now we're just identifying the first step, right? What step to do first. This problem over here, I run into a couple of my grouping symbols. So I'm going to start on the left, which in this case is over here. So 14 plus 5, that's 19. And in the last one down here, again, I see two grouping symbols, here and here. And I would start with the one on the left, and 20 minus 3 is 17. Okay, so that was just identifying what we would do first. The next two, we're actually going to solve, right? The word evaluate is a fancy word for solve. You'll see a math problem say evaluate if there's no equal sign written in the problem. If it says to solve, it's an equal sign, which usually identifies an equation. Expressions don't have equal signs, so they'll often say evaluate instead of solve. All right, so this guy right here in the middle, this right here is a grouping symbol. That's the complex fraction grouping symbol. So remember from the top, we had complex fraction, and the grouping symbol means we have to do this first. The reason, or the way that we do this first, is by splitting it into two problems. We have to do the top and the bottom. The bottom is just a number, so luckily we don't have to solve anything on the bottom, but we do have to solve things on the top. Okay, so if I write my checklist, my groups. All right, so my first is G for grouping symbol. Within the top problem, I do have a grouping symbol right here. I have 7 plus 10 inside my parentheses, and 7 plus 10 is 17. It's important that I bring everything else down. Okay, so I've done my grouping symbol. Next, I'm gonna do my exponents. My exponents right here. So that's not 3 times 3. 3 to the third power is 3 times 3 times 3, right? So 3 times 3 is 9. Bring this down, and 9 times 3 is 27. Of course, your calculator will do this for you, and you are allowed to use your calculator. If you want help finding out how to do that in your calculator, you can certainly ask me in class, and I will show you the trick. So 3 to the third power is 27, and I bring down the rest of my problem. 27 minus 17 is 10. Now, that was only the answer to the top. Do not leave your final answer as 10. Okay? The answer to the top was 10. The number on the bottom was 2. And this guy right here, now that I have simplified the top and the bottom, my last step with a complex fraction is always going to be top divided by bottom. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And again, I didn't put any equal signs because it wasn't an equation. It was just an expression. All right, I'm going to move on to this one. I'm going to put my checklist, as I always do. I'm going to put my groups together. And G stands for grouping symbol. I do see a grouping symbol over here. I just see one of them, so that's good. 6 plus 3 is 9. Once I've done that part, it's really important that I bring everything else down in the exact same order that it appears in the problem. Okay, I cannot change the order because, again, we are working on order of operations. If I move things around, I'm messing up the whole system. All right, so I did my grouping symbol. Next, I look for exponents. Remember I told you square roots are now in that category? So the square root of 4 is 2. So this was my next step, this guy right here. I'm going to bring down 15 divided by 5 times 6 minus, there's my 2, and now I do plus 9. So I did my exponents. Now I look for multiply and divide, and they have to go left to right. So look, I see divide and I see multiply. Common mistake is people want to multiply first, but they are a group. So in this situation, you would have to divide before you multiply. 15 divided by 5, because remember, these guys, they're a partnership, right? 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now I'm bringing down the rest. Now I can take care of my multiplication. So I did the divide, and next I'm multiplying. 3 times 6 is 18. Next, I see some subtraction and addition. Right, so these guys are a partnership again, meaning left to right. 18 minus 2 is 16, and 16 plus 9 is 25. Okay, we have one problem left to do together. It is another one that is a complex fraction. And remember, please pause this video as you go so that you can take the time to write them down as you see them. Okay, so I've got this guy sitting in the middle again, which means he is a complex fraction. And a complex fraction simply means you have to split the top and the bottom into two problems and then come back together at the end and divide. So I'm going to do the top and the bottom as two separate problems. The top is square root of 225 plus 3 times 5 squared. Okay, if I write my checklist, my grouping symbols, nope, none here. Exponents, oh yes, I have two sets of exponents. I have my square root and I have 5 squared. So I go left to right. Square root of 225, according to my calculator or my brain, is 15. Now I can handle this one. 5 squared is 25. Okay, keeping it in the same order as I bring it down. So I did my exponents. Now I look for multiply and divide. I see a multiply, so I'm going to do this next, and 3 times 25 is 75. So I did my multiply. There's no divide. I see an add, so we're going to do 15 plus 75, which gives us 90. Do not circle that. That is not your final answer. That's only the answer to the top. Okay, now the bottom is just 13 minus 3. So I don't really have to follow any fancy order of ops here because it's one step. 13 minus 3 is 10. So this is the answer to the top. This is the answer to the bottom. So your final step will be the top divided by the bottom. And 90 divided by 10 is 9. So your final answer to your question is 9. If you have any questions, you can review the video again, or you can reach out to your teacher and be prepared to write your summary after you've pasted your notes into your digital notebook. Please do that before class. All right, 5 sentences, starting with the objective as your first sentence and then 4 supporting facts. All right, see you guys tomorrow.